My name is Kristina. I will talk to you today about something which I called Open Company and hopefully a smooth path to a cloud or for a cloud migration. And basically the reason why I decided to come here was not only wanting to tell you something. Of course, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you a story about a journey. But I wanted to tell you a story about a journey of which I believe that a lot of us as customer, I'm a customer of Atlassian, have experienced in the last year, are currently experiencing or are thinking of, and this journey is the story is about going to the Atlassian cloud. And the reason why I decided to come here was rather to not only to give that talk, but also to give a possibility to open up the room for experience sharing. Because I'm an admin of Jira, and when I started to think about going to the cloud, the problem was not finding information on technical instructions and what to prepare from a technical side and so on, but rather to learn how to prepare things, how to handle that migration, so that other part beside the techniques. And as I said, I don't want to only talk in the next 45 minutes, but I also want to invite you to also share your experiences, your stories, and maybe ask your questions, because we are all in the same boat as customers on our way to the cloud. We all have the same questions, and it would be awesome if you could share your questions, your thoughts with other people in this room and other people maybe that listen to us afterwards in that recording. And so for now I would like to start where that journey started for myself, and that was when I told one of my users that we are thinking about migrating to the Atlassian cloud, and then she said something to me which really gripped me somehow, and that was, you need to understand, Jira is vital for my daily work. I can go without my mails, I can go without any other system, but when Jira is down, I cannot do anything. So no pressure, as an admin, no pressure. You will see that as well, or maybe not, but that was what faced me. And before going into detail what I did with that, just a short turn on who are we, because I talked about we. We are Dachser. Dachser is a logistics company that is based in Germany, in Bavaria. Maybe some of you have been to our famous Oktoberfest or have visited the Alps. We're very close to that. And Dachser is providing air and sea and road logistics and warehousing services for customers all around the world. We're operating in more than 40 countries with 370 branches. And we have more than 30,000 colleagues there, so we're quite big company, I would say. And if you think about the Atlassian systems, we have a rather smaller instance. I know that some of the colleagues in this room have that quite large user bases. Our Jira, about which I will tell in the next minute, is rather small. We have 1,400 users. And these use the Jira mainly for designing and developing and maintaining our software products that we provide for our logistics services. Or they use our Jira for organizing the business integrations for our customers and their ERP systems and handling the different external software products. So our Jira use is a rather IT-focused one. But nevertheless, it's a very important system, like you've already heard. And in 2021, we decided, okay, let's migrate our Jira to the Atlassian cloud. And comparable to what you've already heard, what happened to me as an admin was not, hooray, hooray, we're going to the cloud, but rather a lot of questions, like, how will you do that? And can we really migrate our data to an externally hosted cloud? Because you need to know we're Europeans, we're Germans, and in Europe, cloud is not that cool, fancy thing. It's often rather, okay, data protection, and are you sure, and so on. And especially we have our own data centers in Germany and operate them, so the users were not that convinced why we should go to an external cloud. And people ask me, okay, what will happen if there's something wrong, what will we do, and how will you take care that everything works like before? Because you need to know, before that we had a really, really smooth instance. Everything worked very good, so people did not understand why should we change anything. And yeah, so you see, it was not pure delightment, it was not hooray, let's go, but rather concern and being not that convinced about everything. And yes, that was where we started. And I said I don't want to only talk and explain or describe what I experienced, but also invite you to share. So if that slide wants to go on, yes. Just maybe some of you can share what happened, or maybe if you started to discuss only about that, how did your users, how did your managers react when you told them you were thinking about migrating to the cloud?
I think some of our users are excited.
Yeah?
And some are why. And we have to figure it out, a critical analysis of why, when, and how.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so basically you heard my users were also excited because a lot of them read there are so many new features in there and that's very cool, but others were not that convinced and they were worried. And in my personal opinion, if you think about systems and their migrations, I think that there are always two things. The one thing is that they need to be operated smoothly. You need somebody who's technically very skilled and knows what to do on a technical side. But the other side, to make IT and systems work, is always the attitude of the user, how the user sees the system, if he's confident, if he likes the system, if he, especially in regard to migration, if he expects that it is a good idea, or if he thinks, okay, no, that won't work, I don't like that, and so on. And I was convinced that the success of this migration does not only depend on me doing that technical preparation, but also handling this concern, handling these thoughts, because if you're concerned, you tend not to, we're all humans, we know that, we tend not to work sometimes in that very structured and organized way, but we rather tend to get sometimes a bit emotional and start to worry and start to, it's not that organized anymore, or not the best way to work if we're worried. So I wanted to handle that. I wanted to think about what can I do that my users and my colleagues become more confident, have a positive attitude on that new system, on that switch. And when I thought about that, the point was that my mind crossed something which I stumbled across when I was a consultant for Atlassian before I came to Dachser. And that was a company value they have, and it is called Openness. And it says openness is root level for us. Information is open internally by default, and sharing is a first principle. And we understand that speaking your mind requires equal parts brains, what to say, thoughtfulness, when to say it, and caring how it is said. And I really liked that back then, and I still like what they say here. And I thought, okay, maybe this openness and that approach of an open communication and trying to take care about that and interact, that could be also a good approach for a migration. So I started to, that was not a conscious thing, it was rather something I implemented in my acting, in my organization, in my management. I started to derive some basic principles, how I tried to act it, that I applied at different phases of that migration. And in general, I could say, first one was open door and mind, open door and ear, because you know, if you're worried, if you're unsure, if you lack information, it's always good that you can come to somebody. If we know some other migrations, maybe from other systems where we heard, okay, there will happen something, but we did not know where to go. We did not know where could I ask my question. I tried at different points to take care that I've always had that open door, that people could come and to listen, not to say, okay, I'm busy and there's so much going on and so on, but really, if somebody wanted to talk about that migration, listening and really paying attention to their questions and trying to help them with that. And another thing I tried to implement was that open communication, so not giving false promises, but trying to understand what is on their mind. I did not say, when they came to me and said, oh, what do you want to do and how will that work out? I did not say, oh yeah, there will be no problems and we will not lose any data, because we cannot guarantee that. But I said to them, okay, what I can guarantee is that we will do a test migration and that you will have the option and the opportunity to investigate and to check and to see if everything worked out, and that I can promise you that, and you can trust on that. And third thing was sharing is caring, so trying to really keep everybody informed and share what you're working on, because if you always know what's going on, you can trust on something. You know what is happening. You're feeling better than just having to assume things and having to wait and not knowing, okay, is this happening or that happening? And yeah, that these were the general principles we tried to apply. And in detail, we had, of course, this general behavior implemented in different actions, and I will try to show you a little bit more in the next few minutes how we did that. So you can, in my opinion, you can divide a migration in different phases, and of course there's the beginning. And if you decide to go for openness and open communication, a first very, very important point is to be open on reasons and facts and figures. Because we know when systems change or we migrate things, we often are not convinced, like we heard in that case. So we decided to really start with an openness on reasons, facts, and figures for the migration. So, for example, we developed a hosting comparison where we had all those thoughts in which we had on that migration and which led us to that decision. Really explaining people that there are functional differences, there is a very good security or maybe even improvement depending on the setup you have. There is a valid data protection concept, so you can really see why did we decide for that, and you can understand that, and that helps you to be more convinced or maybe accept some decisions that you might have not accepted before. And another thing was, of course, when we started following that openness and that communication approach, we tried to talk to all those different stakeholders we have. Maybe you experienced what I experienced before in another context, and that was I got an email a week before productive migration where I read, okay, next week system is down for 4 hours and there will be massive changes. Here's a short note, what changes, and feel free. And that doesn't, in my opinion, and thinking about what I thought, that doesn't help that much. You cannot prepare, you cannot inform yourself, you have no room for asking questions, so we try to talk right at the beginning. So timing is everything, not having that email short before you go over and change, but really early and really get in touch. Another thing which is especially valid for us as European customers is the data protection and the security investigations. Especially the data protection is, I would not call that a problem, but it's a bit more difficult than it might be in other countries. And what we also try to do that talk there. So we did not wait and just fill in the data protection form, but we really approached our data protection officer and talked to him. We told him not only here's the information you need to know, but rather this is important to us as a company, and that's the reason, and this will support our people, our developer, all of our colleagues when we change it. And then when he had questions, we said, okay, let's talk about them. And a big shout out at that point to two colleagues at Atlassian, Sascha Wiswedel and Dominik Schwenke, who were really supportive on that. So I can really recommend to all of you to collaborate with these colleagues there. They will be supportive for you, and they will help you when you talk to the different stakeholders. And by this, we were able to convince our data protection officer, okay, my questions were answered, I understand this is important for you, so go ahead. That was the magic. And for some of us as European customers, that is really a magic. So we started with that reasons, and facts and figures. We started with that talk, and we tried to do it right at the beginning and tried to do it in a comprehensive way, giving every person, every stakeholder the information that he needs to have. The management will want to know other things like downtimes and effort than the user who has to work with the system every day and is really afraid that something might not work anymore. So that was how we started. And again, if the slide switching works, what about you? Regarding an upcoming migration, if you have already done one, who did you inform and how did you do that? Maybe you can share that with the people in that room. Or who would you inform if you have not already done that? I know that some of you are already thinking about a migration. Yeah, that's also a good point. You shouldn't forget that. If you need to inform people and you have a big company with a lot of hierarchies, think of the time that needs to get everyone. That's also a good input and a good tip. Yeah, so after that beginning, we started, of course, with the planning of the migration. And a thing that also is linked to that openness and communication approach is that we decided to establish a forum. Because in our eyes, that forum could help us to really act as a connection to everybody in the company. You heard we have that smaller instance with 1,400 people, but try to get 1,400 people involved, try to answer their questions. I only have 24 hours a day to be there and to be a contact, so I needed to do something on that. And with that forum, which we called a key user group, we were able to distribute information to really every corner of the company. So and on the other hand, everybody in the different departments, in the different team, knew somebody who is involved in that topic. So not having that strange person I never heard of and I don't know who she is and so on, but really, okay, I know that guy, I know him at least, he's in my department, I can go to him and I know, okay, he will try to answer my questions, he will take them with him. And this was really, really important for us because not only that it helped that information distribution in a really nice manner, but it also brought up information which we would not have received otherwise. An example we had that I can give you was I took over the system only some months before that migration, and there we did not know about a small, tiny little interface. Our system is old, it grew over the time, And so we did simply not know that this interface is there, and that is so important. Still is a really important interface to request for all of our branches to request the integration of a custom system. If that doesn't work, okay, we can still go on with our work somehow, but that would not have been good. And due to that forum and that massive information spreading, the person that developed that interface years ago learned about our project and came to us in an early phase and did tell us, did you think about that interface? Do we have to do something? And then we were able to adapt early and to check and to test and have that updated smoothly. That was really, really good. And yeah, with that forum, we validated a migration plan so that everybody was convinced, okay, we know what to do, we know what to test, we know that this and that interface is in there. And with that validated plan, we started to prepare and started to test the migration itself. And I can bring you 3 things there. First one was the change management. So if you want to be open, if you want to have that communication, you should be really transparent on changes that arise on a functional or in a process-related side. Because if you're an admin, you think, okay, that change isn't that big. But what we experienced, for example, was how big the change of the location of a button can be for a user. Because, classical example, if you're on data center or server, you have that button for the boards right in the header of Jira. And after that migration, it went down to that recent tab. And people did not find that board anymore. And that's, of course, a vital part for them. So really be transparent on changes, especially if you think about plugins. A lot of us have plugins in their instances. And we had one plugin which wasn't offered for the cloud version. That was not that good, of course. You could have went on and could have said, okay, that's not there anymore, okay. That's of course open, but it's not open to that extent in regard to your users. So we tried to really tell them, okay, this will not be there anymore, but tell us what you do with that plugin today. And by having this group, by having that talk, by having that communication, we were able to understand what that plugin does for them. We were able to understand how to handle that, to offer a workaround, to craft it together with all of them so that everybody was okay with what we did. All of them were able to test and to confirm, okay, this still works like before, that's awesome. And everything was fine. Sounds so trivial, but makes a major difference for the process of all of your colleagues. And 2 other things that are related to preparation and testing is that communication of expected and communication of unexpected. Also sounds trivial, but give you some examples on that. Regarding the communication of expected things, if you have that forum, if you have that clear communication, this work package, this task is planned for this date, it involves this goal, and so on, we received way more support, and we did not have to do everything alone by ourselves. So I still remember one user in one of our divisions, and she was really keen on helping us. We gave her the dates, we gave her the tasks and the goal, and she just jumped through her department and really approached the colleagues and asked them, did you already do what they requested? Did you clean up, for example, your boards? Did you close those filters? Because we were using public filter sharing before we migrated. And that's not good if you migrate to the cloud without whitelisting later on. So she really jumped around and organized and managed that and checked, okay, are all of us ready? Can we go? And then she came back to me and said, okay, my department, my division is ready. They are all prepared. You do not have to check anymore. And that was helpful because if I had, and my migration colleagues had to run around and check everything, you will not be finished or you will oversee things. And regarding communicating of unexpected, I wish you a very good luck when you migrate, but I believe that all of us will face some delays, some unexpected things when we migrate. And in our case, this was, for example, we had a very nice discussion with our marketing team regarding the formatting of the URL of the system. We did not expect that, not at all. And it's okay to have that discussion, but we simply did not expect that, and it took us weeks to talk to the responsible, to agree on how and what we can do. And we also had some minor or major network challenges. If you are behind a firewall and try to migrate only one system, you still need that application tunnel. Going through that firewall is not that easy to find what you need to open, that it works continuously. And so we had delays. And if you remember that somebody is worried about a migration and about what happens to a system, and he doesn't hear for weeks and weeks what is going on, they will become again more worried. And you will not feel good as a user, as an affected user. So again, we try to communicate also what does not work. So people knew, okay, there is a problem, but they're telling me that. And I know that they're working on that, and I know that they found a fix now, or they made some steps to fix that. And again, that really, really helped. That gave them confidence that they knew what was going on. And yeah, so everything was prepared, everything was tested, and migration day came. And I like to compare that with a ship that is leaving some kind of harbor, because you need a lot of people. It's quite difficult. You might get stuck somewhere or things like that. And if you try to go on with that openness, if you try to have it there as well, you should really think who you need and talk to them again. And in our case, we, in a very early phase, we identified our service desk as a very crucial point in that migration. So during the testing, we gathered all those user feedbacks, all those forum feedbacks that we received, and we wrote that down, and we also gathered our response for each and every of that frequently asked questions. And then we made a meeting with our service desk and telling them, okay, on next Saturday we will migrate the system of 1,400 users. This is the purpose. So we will have this and that user maybe approaching to you, sending you tickets. And there might be tickets which ask the same questions like our testers, and they might include this question, this question, this question. And by this, they were already before receiving the tickets given the appropriate answer, and that made it way quicker and easier for them to respond. The users received earlier responses, not having to go over my desk. And that was very, very good support. And I also had that feedback from the service desk responsible that this was the first migration where somebody did it like that, and he was really, really convinced about that approach. So he was really happy. His team was happy because they were not arguing with the user, what takes there so long and why does that not work? Everybody was prepared. And of course, you also need to have your infrastructure teams ready. So I also did some meetings with them and telling them, on Friday, I will start with migrating the data outside, so please, database team, be ready, I might call. And the network guys as well, and I asked them, okay, who's on duty on that weekend, so that I know who to call as well, and what might happen or what is targeted. And again, that was a good approach, because when we started to transfer the data, of course, what happened, the data didn't want to be transferred. It just didn't want to work. And yeah, but as I already told them, I will migrate, and I have a lot of time pressure on my side. When I called them, they already knew, okay, I need to pick up the phone now because she's really in a hurry and she needs my help. And they already knew, okay, we need to go to that server, we need to go to that database. And in our case, we had a small bug where we deleted some boards and filters on the interface in Jira, and they were gone, but they were still lingering around in the database. itself. And that was what blocked the transfer of the data. But as I had them at hand, as I had a good, they were all prepared, we fixed that in about 15 minutes. And then we could start with the data transfer. You, of course, have also your users as crew members. Also, for this case, I really tried to discuss with them how to reach me, how to contact me, how we can best handle all questions that come up in the different departments. And again, that user, I really like her till today because she keeps on doing this task still today. Again, she prepared everything for the division, so she set up a Confluence page, which she shared in her division, and there she said, okay, if you have a question, if you have a problem, please post a screenshot there, post your name there, and she checked frequently there, is there a new question? If she knew what the problem of the user was, she already answered them before coming that problem to my table. If she did not know, she tagged me in Confluence, and I kept on checking my mails every few hours. So I was again able to give a quick support and to check, okay, that's urgent, that's not that urgent, maybe I can answer that tomorrow. And other people saw it and helped each other. That was also a very, very nice feature. Or a very nice effect of the whole process, so that support of colleague to colleague, that support of myself was really, really amazing here. Yeah, and what can I say? We migrated, and we migrated really successfully in my eyes. I did not have any complaints, and I was really, really happy about that, because that was my goal. That everybody's happy, that everybody's convinced, and when people started to work, it took some hours to get used to everything, or maybe some days. But all of us started really confident and positively in that new system and tried to adapt new features like the roadmap feature you have, or automation and things like that. We did not have to, we did not need the time to adapt and to discuss and to argue and to fix things, but it just went on without any effect. So, as a summary, from my personal opinion, that is my experience, I can only recommend to all of you who think about a migration to view migrations as teamwork. This will work out best. You're not the only admin, it's not good to see it as admin and maybe as project team and go on. It involves everybody. It involves the user, it involves the data protection officer. It is, of course, it takes time to do it like this, but it saves time later if you don't have to fix things or discuss things again and again. And communication is crucial. I know of a lot of people who have the problem that they cannot convince their compliance officers that it's a good idea to go. But we learned that if you communicate, that if you explain, that if you're open for questions, people will understand, and people will then support you in going ahead. Another thing is action instead of reaction. So you saw with that openness, that does not only involve waiting until they knock on your door, but rather also to really address things, to really go to people, to really invite people for collaboration, for sharing, for questions. And finally, you can say, in my opinion, openness builds trust, and trust is vital for success. If your users trust you as the admin, as the one who's doing that migration, they will support you. And you are better in supporting them. And that's basically what I wanted to share with you. I thank you, all of you coming today and listening to me. I hope this was interesting for you. And I also want to thank my key users at home who did that journey with me. They were so awesome people. That group still exists today and still supports each other today. So thanks a lot, and what about you? What is your story? Thank you. Question, yeah, please.
You mentioned that your
We did one deep dive test run because, in my personal opinion, it will not make that many difference if you do it again and again, because every little feature changes again and again. You will usually not migrate the same set of data for several times, and as soon as something changes, it's not comparable anyway. In my opinion, it was better to have that one run, which was quite successful, and to go really, really deep to check, because we stumbled across some aspects which we did not expect and did not see first. But taking that time and doing that systematic testing with a lot of people, we found the things and we were able to fix them, or to prepare how to fix them on that migration weekend.
So you went from the test migration run, you wrote down what was wrong, and then you did the production cutover.
Yeah.
So you didn't go back and...
No. You're welcome. Yes, please.
I also have a question. Did you consider to do a post-migration survey with your users to collect the feedback on what went really well about the migration and what could have been improved?
We did meet again, and as I said, we still meet. We did that at different points. We did that with that group to ask them 4 weeks later. We asked them, okay, what are your experiences? How are your colleagues feeling? Is there a problem that has not reached our desk or so? And what we also did, we went to larger meetings we have in the company and also invited people there, even not being in that migration group. Is there still something? Are you convinced with everything? Is everything fine? And the general feedback was usually, okay, we still adapt to that movement of the button from left to right, but everything else is okay. Yes, please. 1,400 users, so it's rather small, but I would say the migration is the migration. If you have 1,400 or 5,000, you might have 20, 40, 50 more projects, but the basic problems will arise being a smaller or larger instance. Anything else? Yes, please.
Did your migration group influence?
We did not migrate both systems at a time. We only migrated Jira first, and at the moment we're working on Confluence. Yeah, because I saw, and I also had the feeling, and that was confirmed, that change, even if it might sound not that big, it's big for the users. And if you're already giving colleagues and people worries about one system, do not put another one on top. And do not put another problem on top of your shoulders. It will make things easier if you do it step by step. People will adopt the changes, and then after they're convinced and everything is okay, you can go on with the next one. If everything changes at a time, it's never that good for you as a user.
Yeah, I also have a second.
Yes, please.
You mentioned that some of the users at the beginning were a little bit concerned about moving to the cloud.
Yeah.
So have they now seen benefits
Yeah.
of it? And what were the key benefits for them, which they have then explained?
So we had actually a lot of our users said it was a good idea afterwards. We had, for example, a lot of people who liked that change of that we now had advanced roadmaps included, because that really helps when they plan. And that was, and another thing was automation. I think it was 3 weeks ago, I went to an office of my colleague at the IT security, and I came in the room, and she was playing around with these automations, and she told me, okay, you know what? When I have a bad day, I start to work with that automations because it makes so much fun. I really I was so happy about that because she was really smiling and saying, if I have a day with a lot of meetings and discussions and so on, it was so awesome because she had so much fun. She had the feeling that helped her so much. It saved time, it made sense, and it was her way to relax, or it still is. I think that's so cool. That's what I want to see as the one who's trying to give a good system to them. Okay. Yes? Okay, so I think that's it. Yeah, one question, yeah. We decided for migration in December. We used the January and February for the document preparation, that compliance stuff with new data protection documents and security checks and so on. And then the test migration was 2 months, and another 2 months. Then we took 1 month for training. So I went to almost every division we have and said, do you want to have an information meeting? I can come. I give you a small half an hour speech, giving you the most important information for everybody who wants to listen. So we took 1 month for that, and then we migrated. So in summary, about 6 months. Atlassian told me that we were quite quick with that. I heard a lot of other colleagues who said to me rather 9 months or a year or so. It depends on your setup. How long what? The downtime. We blocked the system from Friday at 12 o'clock until Sunday at 12 o'clock. That was sufficient for us. And I told them it was Friday, last weekend of July, go to the beer garden. That was what, honestly, a lot of people blocked their calendars and went to the beer garden. That was awesome. So a weekend, depending on, so we did a one all move, transporting over all projects at once, and it took a weekend.